Hey guys, welcome to another chat with League of Inches. This time I'm taking over, not just because these two have been useless at picking try scores, but because it's finals time and I have a lot to say. So let's look at last week quickly. I just run over the scores. So we had Tigers v Knights. Tigers lost 8 to 28. Roosters versus Cowboys. Roosters took the win 40 to 16. Dragons versus Broncos 12 to 46. Eels versus Sharks 6 to 56, and then Raiders versus Titans 6 to 30. So, Joel, if you are ready to, do you have the final ladder
Yep,
available? Yep.
I do.
Okay, I'll
And
get you to
just
run through
just
it.
quickly, me and Alex knew this day was coming. I thought we could get through to the season, but yeah, the professionals been called in. But it's great to have you on board for the finals, and it just really everything just ramps up now. So the final ladder got Newcastle Knights winning the minor premiership. Well done once again to the Knights who were just really classy all year. I thought so. 16 points. The Roosters and Titans equal second, 14 points. Broncos got that fourth spot, which I know both of you would be very happy about, 12 points. The Raiders just missed out, unfortunately. A very good season, though, fifth. The Sharkies came good late, smashing the Eels, as you mentioned, finishing in sixth. The Dragons finished in seventh. Tigers and Cowboys, eighth and ninth. And then the Eels, unfortunately, the dreaded wooden spoon.
Yeah, pretty unfortunate for them. But I think early on in the season we kind of could see that happening. In our preview as well, I kind of mentioned we wouldn't know how they would go. Um, so yeah, that's obviously the outcome there. So Alex, we'll get you to run through your try scorers with Joel from last
Yep.
week.
So it was a good. It was probably my best week of the season, but not such a good week again for you, Joel. So I'll quickly go through it.
No worries.
First game, I had Caitlin Johnston. You had Jasmine Strange. They both didn't score. So sort of as usual, keeping consistent, never getting those first ones across. Second game, I had Isabel Kelly. You had Bridie Parker. Kelly scored for me. Then I had Melo Hufanga, and you had Julia Robinson. We both got it. Then I had Nessa Biddle. You had Tiana Penatani. I got Nessa Biddle. Then Jamie Chapman, and you had Samima Taufa. I got Jamie Chapman. So I ended up getting those last four, so getting 4 out of 5. And you got Julia
There you
Robinson, so
go.
you got 1 out of 5. So overall, I'm 17 from 40, and you're 12 from 40 for the season. So
Oh,
uh,
how good. How good are we?
Oh
Well done.
gosh, I
Well,
mean,
4 out of 5. That's a good result. Give
I know
that.
I was happy with that. Took to around 9. So yeah, would have been nice to get the 5, but I'll take 4.
We'll do it.
yeah, I wish I gave my tips each week because I feel like I would have done much better. But that's just me guessing, I guess. So let's look at our team of the week. For me, it was Sharks, and for my performance of the week, it was Biddle. So what about you, Joel?
Yeah, I've got the Sharkies. I just thought that win was better. I think a lot of teams, actually, the top four teams, will be very happy that the Sharks aren't in there because I think on their
Mm.
day, they're a very dangerous footy side. And yeah, there'd be a lot of those top four teams going, thank you that they are not in this top four final
Yeah,
series. So um, I tried to narrow it down in terms of personnel, but I just really couldn't go past it. I didn't want to single out any of the Sharks players in particular because I just thought they were all really good, and I just thought it was really good to see them finally reach what we've all been talking about all season. It's kind of been frustrating in a way watching the Sharkies play because we know that they've got quality all over the park, and it was just finally good to see all the girls step up and actually show what I know it was against the Eels, who probably were their own worst nightmare a lot of the year. But yeah, they were red hot on the weekend.
yeah, for sure. And what about oh, so you said you didn't want to single out
Yeah,
anyone for your performance.
throw
You
the whole
can't.
Sharks team in.
Yeah, yeah. Perfect. And what about you, Alex?
Hell, Sharks were the obvious choice, and I was probably thinking you would choose them too. But I think due to the circumstances of the round and the build up and the lead up to this game, the Titans for me were the performance of the round. Just to get the job done the way they did, I was expecting a really close, tight scoring, like grind of a game. But yeah, for the Titans to go down to Canberra, where they haven't played this season, obviously the Raiders have been pretty strong at home, just got the job done. And really, I wasn't that confident on them a couple of weeks ago. The Titans, I thought, oh, they might just be an easy beat in the top four. But the last couple of weeks, they've really just solidified in my mind that they are definitely a threat for the premiership. So they're my team and individual, I will single out a Sharks player here, Joel. Anessa Biddle. She got 2 tries, 1 try assist. She had 18 runs for 242 run meters, 84 post contact meters, 10 tackle breaks, 4 line breaks. So just left her best performance for the last round. Probably rookie of the year for me, to be honest.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see if I guess who does get rookie of the year, but she's definitely been a standout for I think a lot of the fans watching as well. If we're looking to this week, the games coming up. So both games are on Sunday. First game at 2:05 p.m. Knights vs Broncos, and then the second game Roosters vs Titans. So the first game, Knights vs Broncos, they've come up against each other 3 times, where the Knights have actually won 2 out of the 3. But the last time that they did meet was in round 5, where Knights won 22-20. So what are your thoughts on this, Alex?
Yeah, I'm still annoyed about this game. Really frustrating that we lost. I know at the time we were up about 16-4, and we sort of sat back and I was like, oh, we've got this locked up, Obviously, that around 5, we didn't know the Knights were going to be minor premiers or the top team. So now in hindsight, it's even more frustrating that we didn't get that win because, it would put us up on that pedestal. We beat the minor premiers, we can do it. Obviously, we had the lead and we were beating them. So we'll get into the next game. But yeah, just on that game, the last time we met, I think it's a good thing that we lost that one to give us a bit of fire in the belly for some revenge in this one.
Yeah, and what about you? Anything else to add, Joel?
Oh, yeah, for me. I remember in that game, and I went back and looked at the highlights for it. The tries were scored a lot on the left side. So 3 of the 4 Knights tries were down the left side of things, and for the Broncos, 2 of their 4. So look for the left side for both sides to really sharpen up and be on fire for this one. The right side defense will really have to be on their game to shut up those opportunities. And you can't sleep on the Broncos. I've said it now for a couple of weeks. I know Alex has been a bit nervous with talking about the Broncos and not want to get too much into them, but I feel like they've got the quality all over the park. And I think it's been a really underrated season for Ali Brigginshaw, who I think is getting better with age, like a fine ball of wine. It's fantastic to actually see her. And to think that start of the year she was playing, I think it was locked for the representative games, is crazy. So she's been really, really good. And I think she'll love to go up against the quality that the Knights have to say, look, I've still got it. We've still got it. We're one of the teams to be feared here. Don't worry about getting the minor premiership. We're the NRLW sort of OGs in a way. And they've got some really dangerous players all over the park. But in saying that, the Newcastle Knights, for mine, all year have just been. I know everyone's been on the Roosters, and I've said now, and I've had it for a couple of weeks, I think the Newcastle Knights are winning the comp. And I just love what I see, especially Upton. Like, she's just getting better and better each week at the moment. Like, the Tigers came to play on the weekend, and it was just great to see Tamika sort of. It was like her boiling just said, just follow me, just come with me. Let's get this done and dusted. Let's just get to next week, but let's just win this game, move on. So, yeah, the Knights are at home, and I'm hearing there's sort of petitions around the fans making sure that they get some good numbers to this game as well. It's for the crowd and really get behind their women's team, which I know the Newcastle crowd love to do. So can't wait to watch this one.
Yeah, it's amazing to see. I think, when I was watching the Knights game, how much I think there was a double header on with the men's, but even then, just I think it was so good to see them all coming in and really sitting and watching the women's game as well. And I think Raiders crowd is really good as well. I think they really get behind the women, which is awesome. So it's good to see that progression for each of the teams. Personally, I think, coming away for the Knights with the minor premiership, I think it'll fill the Knights with a lot of confidence going into the game, and they've been one of the most consistent teams all season. They just know the style that they want to play, and I think that's what they're going to bring to this game as well. But yeah, what about you, Alex?
Yeah, in terms of the Knights' strength, they're just one of the more consistent teams, obviously, all season. They're probably a team that enjoys being in the grind and can grind you out and then probably blow you out in the second half. Opposed to maybe like a Roosters team that could probably just do it from kickoff. They enjoy just starting slow potentially and just working their way into a bigger win. And yeah, they obviously have weapons all over the park. Tamika Upton at the back, can't sleep on her. Jesse Southwell in the halves. I mean, obviously Broncos have their weapons too, but yeah, the Knights are in the spot they're in, and it's going to definitely be hard to beat, especially down in Newcastle, like we've already touched on. With the crowds they get, it seems to just give them all another leg, and they lift to another level, and they're going to be hard to beat down there.
Yeah. Do you have any other strengths to add, Joel?
Yeah, this year, I think one of their underestimated strengths has been they've only conceded 13 points on average a game. So the defense has been up there as one of the benchmarks of the competition. So you're going to have to really work in the Broncos lineup to get across the line. The other thing was that they've got the most supports as well, in the always on the ball, basically. So what that means is that sort of when the game is going to offloads and things like that, you've got to be really on your toes for the Broncos because they love to get that offload away. They'll have Tamika Upton, Southwell, the like up on the ball ready to get that and just go. So you're going to have to be really compact in defense, but which can also mean then that opens up the edges. So you can just, when you're thinking about it, it's going to be a massive headache for the Broncos to be there at the game and on their toes for the 70 minutes.
It's interesting that you say that because looking at the weaknesses for the Knights, statistically, they've thrown the least offloads in the comp. So not much second phase play there. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, it's interesting that Joel says that and then you say that because the most support players would suggest, they've been throwing a lot of offloads, but then the support's there, but just maybe, I don't know what if that's the game plan, hold on to the ball, try and have a high completion rate. Like the top 4 teams actually have the 4 lowest completion rates in the comp, so it hasn't been a big issue for teams to win with a low completion rate. But yeah, if the Broncos sort of identify that the Knights don't love to throw it around and the offloads are going to be limited, it sort of doesn't need to play in their mind. They can focus on other things, not so much worrying about potential offloads. I mean, obviously you don't want to go to sleep and Tamika Upton gets an offload and see you later. But yeah, there's not apart from that, I can't think of too many other weaknesses for the Knights. One thing I did identify earlier in the week, the center defensive stats. So we've got Abigail Roach and Shanice Parker. They've both made about the same amount of tackles, but missed tackles. Abigail Roach has only missed 9 on the left side for the Knights, but Shanice Parker's missed 30 on the right side, and she's marking up against Mele Hufanga, who we all know how good she can be, the line breaks, tackle breaks. So that's going to be a massive matchup in this game. The less the worst center in terms of defending coming up against one of the best attacking players in the comp. So definitely an area of target for the Broncos, but we'll get to that when we speak about that.
And what about you, Joel? Do you have any other weaknesses?
Just to go on what Alex said, I actually put down that the Knights have the 5th worst in terms of defense. Their mixed tackles, so they are missing quite a few tackles. Their defense is there, so maybe it's a cover defense is really good, but yeah, that is a worry that their missed tackles are so high up, especially when you got damaging ball runners like we've just spoken about with the Broncos. They've got a couple all over the park, so they're going to have to be on their game and not let the Broncos have too many opportunities.
Well, I hope that they do give the Broncos a lot of opportunities. But I guess looking at the strengths for the Broncos, they do have the second best attack in the comp, first being the Roosters. So if I do base it off that, I think Broncos have a very strong chance at competing against a very confident Knights team. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, I think our main strength is that left side. If they're all playing and humming, it's Gail Broughton, Tasman Gray, Mela Hufanga, Julia Robinson now back. It's so strong. Arguably potentially the best left side in the comp or even best edge in the comp. Really hard to stop if we can get going, and just so many things to be worried about. Gail has the ball in her hands. Is she going to run it? She's going to pass. Cut up pass to Julia Robinson that we see in the defense kind of merge onto Melee, worried about her trying to get numbers on her, and Julie Robinson walks it over in the corner, or a short ball to Tasman Gray. So a lot of things to worry about. Almost like that the Warriors men's right edge with Sean Johnson. How it seems like there's so many options and space opens up for them. That's what comes to mind when I think about the Broncos left edge and what it could be. Yeah, so the strength, like I said, with the Shanice Parker missed tackles, get the ball to Melee somehow, or use her as a decoy, and Shanice Parker's missed tackles. Hopefully, she misses a few more, and we can cash in a few tries on that edge. And yeah, Melee leads the comp with the most line breaks with 14, and she's third in tackle breaks with 62. And I think you mentioned it before, you might not have. Broncos, we have the second best attack in the comp doesn't really feel like it, but yeah, I think we average about 28. The Knights at 24, so we're just ahead there. So yeah.
What about you, Joel?
Yeah, just on Melee, obviously she's having a wow. She finished second highest for the try scorers as well with 10 for the season. So averaging a try a game, which is crazy to think. So I feel like as well, because it's going to be both games is going to have a lot of eyes on them. And there's not much sport on Sunday at all. So there'll be a lot of, in general, the sport heads watching this and not just footy tragics either. So I think these big game players will step up, and Mela Hufanga has shown this year that she's one of those. And yeah, just as you said, that second most points scored for the Broncos is something that the Knights have to worry about. It's going to be interesting because great defense against great attack. It's going to be one of them's going to have to show some weakness there. So it's going to be interesting to see who or what buckles first.
Yeah, for sure. I guess we look at the weaknesses for the Broncos. I don't have anything to say. So Joel, I'll let you keep the floor and you can keep going with the Broncos side for weaknesses.
Don't want to give anything away, guys. I know how it is. So I'll have to be the Knights fan on this one. It's all good. I've got for the Broncos a weakness, the third most areas this year with 93. So they are very good attacking football, and it was weird because Alex, you mentioned it. So the top four are like the highest four for areas. So which means they're all trying and playing attacking footy, which does come with its risks. We obviously know, but on the big stage, you do want to minimize your errors. You don't want that to become a habit. So if the Broncos get maybe a bit too carried away, maybe some hotheads in the team or something, then that could become a downfall because then all you do is give Southwell, Upton, like field position. Their back line can get into it. Their forwards starting to steamroll. And you just all of a sudden are banked on your own line for like 5 or 10 minutes and thinking, oh, crap, I'm out of breath here. So what do I do now? So they just got to, watch that because we do know they've got class players everywhere, but they've also just got to make sure they're not making any errors that are going to be too costly because they've already seen in some of the bigger games, especially towards the men's side of things, that errors really cost you, especially in finals footy. All of a sudden, you've got 10 minutes without the ball and you're buggered. So you just got to be careful with ball in hand.
Yeah, for sure. I think it'll be interesting because I think that pressure can obviously get to these players. So hopefully we're not going to see that, especially at nights with the if a crowd does roll in. So yeah. But play to watch. We've already touched on her so many times, but Mele Hufanga for me, the reasons are obviously self-explanatory, but because she is so damaging, so powerful, the opposition will always find it hard to stop her, and especially with Shanice Parker covering her, I think, we will see the best of Mele. So, yeah. What about you, Alex?
Probably just like a one where it's if you haven't watched much NRLW, Ali Brigginshaw, she's not a player that's gonna, be the fastest, strongest, all that sort of stuff. But the way she controls the game, she's really, I think probably been underappreciated this season. She's worked into the season really well. Last couple of weeks, just has so much time on the ball. So if there's a player that's going to get us across the line, as much as Melee is going to be doing all the attacking, whatever, I think it's going to be Ali Brigginshaw that will be really responsible if we can get the win here.
Yeah. And what about you, Joel?
Again, I'll balance it out. I'll go the Knights player. Look, there might be a few people that are watching this first time wanting to know a bit more about the NRLW and the women's side of things. And it's the obvious one for us who have followed the game. But Tamika Upton, obviously, an absolute star of the game. And when you think big players, how they rise in the big occasions, we've seen that in the past, both in the men's and women's side of things. This is who you will watch, and you just cannot wait to sit down, grab a drink, have some food, whatever you're going to do that on Sunday afternoon, and she will honestly light it up. I have no doubt in the world she will have, knowing all eyes are on her, the stadium is going to be packed. It's going to be fantastic to watch, and up steps Tamika Upton. And honestly, after this, she'll put in a women on the match performance and build her a statue. She will deserve it because she will light it up.
Yeah, for sure. No, you're not wrong there. She is definitely an amazing player, and I think we're definitely going to see the best of her. So now we talk about our try scorers. I've actually got an interesting one. Well, I think it's personally interesting, not an obvious choice, I would say, but I'll let you two go first. So Joel, who is your try scorer for this game?
Are we going one from each side, or are we just locking in one?
I'm just locking in one.
Okay. I like that. Obviously, the left-hand side after the things I said earlier with last game, they verse each other. I like to look at the left side players. I'll go. I'll go Gallagher. I'll lock in Gallagher, nice winger, to score there and keep up that nice, obviously 3 from 4 tries last time they versed each other, and I'll stick with that trend for this game.
Yeah. I'm interested to see, like, because Sheridan Gallagher in a photo had that big knee brace, so
Yeah,
I
that
don't
is
know
my
if,
worry.
yeah, so I don't know how she'll
That's
go with
why I took
that.
another breath with it. I was just like, oh no, I'll lock it in.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Interesting. And Alex?
Yeah, we spoke a lot about melee, but I think another sort of a big game player, Tasman Gray, on that edge. The attention might be away from her a little bit. We saw in Origin, I think she scored in both games, or at least I know she scored in one of them, and maybe got player of the series or at least player of the match. So, loves a big game. This is the biggest of the season now for the Broncos. Maybe a short ball from Gale, just space opens up for Tasman Gray.
Cool. For me, it is Abigail Roach. I was just really surprised by her speed and skill, even though, oh gosh, what's her name? Jakaya Whitfeld did catch up to her pretty quickly. I just was really surprised by how fast and quick she was. So I think if she gets a chance, I think she can cross on that left edge from a Tamika Upton pass. So we'll see how I go with that one. Exact score prediction for me, I have an interesting score prediction as well. I'm going Broncos to win by 1, and my exact score is 9-8. What about you, Joel?
Ooh. I'm going Knights at home. I think the home crowd will get them over the line. 26 points to 16. So 10 points in it.
Interesting. Okay. And Alex?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're pretty biased with the Broncos this week. I think we've got to be on the Broncos. Gonna say a bit more high scoring than Neha. I'll go 20-18, real close one.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so now we look at the next game. So we've got Roosters versus Titans. They have played each other 3 times, where Roosters have won 2 out of the last 3. Last time they met was in round 5, where Roosters won 30-8. What are your thoughts on their previous game, Alex?
I remember speaking about it, and it was, well, even watching the game, like the Titans were in it early on, and I was surprised, and it was tight. I think just up until about half time, and I'm not sure what exactly went wrong for the Titans. Probably their errors, probably cost them in this one, and the Roosters just had too much momentum and found the groove and ran away with it. So they know they can compete with them for at least that first half, and yeah, if they let it slip again, obviously we could see a similar story with the Roosters attack the way it is. But yeah, just on that last one, disappointing end result for the Titans, and the Roosters will have a lot of confidence that they were able to put that score on the Titans, who have been such a good defensive unit this year.
Anything to add, Joel?
Now, just second on what Alex said, I thought leading into that game, we were all talking about how good. I think at the time, the Titans were the best defensive side in the competition, and they were really muscling up in defense. It was really hard to break them down. So it was sort of one of those after the game, we all sort of sat back and went, "Oh, hang on, the Roosters are back here. That they're back in the season, and they've woken up." And they were sort of, "Oh no, we've poked the bear here." And obviously, the Roosters went on with that massive win streak. But yeah, it's really looking forward. I think this game will be closer than a lot of people think. I think the Titans are starting to play some good football, and their attack's starting to come back as well. So yeah.
Yeah. And besides the obvious, I guess now we look at the strengths. Their ability to score points and dominate teams is their obvious strength. They are the best attacking team in the comp, averaging about 31 points a game. But I do think that they will be hard to stop if they do get their momentum early. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, they lead the comp in a lot of attacking stats like tries scored, points scored, line breaks, run meters. They're just so dominant with the ball. Every win that they've had, the seven wins that they've had this season, they've scored 30 points or more. So when they win big. And they also have the least missed tackles in the comp. So it's not just with the ball; it's without. They've probably flown under the radar with how good their defense has been, just because the scorelines blow out and you think, oh, how good's their attack? You don't really need to worry about the defense so much. But I guess in a tight game, that's going to come in handy.
And Joel?
No, nothing more to say. I just think the Roosters, especially when they're on, are just so dangerous, and they would have not just the Titans, but obviously the Knights as well. If it's them in the grand final or it's the Broncos, very, very worried.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be interesting. Whoever ends up against the Roosters, And I think, yeah, anyone on the opposition and fans will be very nervous to come up against this Roosters side. If we look at the weaknesses, I think it's definitely hard to find a weakness with this side. Potentially, Bridie Parker filling the shoes of Jess Surgis at centre. She did play there last week and she was solid, but coming up against Jamie Chapman, I feel like could be a much harder task. What about you, Joel? What are your weaknesses for the Roosters?
Uh, Well, as you said, there's not many with the Roosters. One thing I did note, and interestingly enough, because it's a finals game and it might be a little bit closer than a lot of people think, conversion rate. Roosters aren't that high up when it comes to conversion rate. I think they're seventh overall, so that's not great when you're going into these big games where if you can make 4 into 6 every time, or at least most of the time, it's really, really handy. So that could be a slight concern if it does get closer and there's tries that need to be converted. The other one just is probably expectation. I think when it comes to these teams where most people have them as the premiership favourites, even though they didn't get the minor premiership, that can sometimes impact how a player prepares or turns up to the game thinking, oh, okay, this might just happen for us. And they might just have their foot off a little bit where the Titans might be going into it going, oh, we can make a statement here and just come up with a little bit more aggression and be there a bit more. But yeah, it's so hard. It's like picking at straws.
Yeah, for sure. I think looking at the strengths now for the Titans, their defense all season has been one of the best. Second in least missed tackles. Um, only the Roosters are better. I think they've found their groove the last couple of weeks at the and at full strength. I think that they'll definitely be hard to beat. What about you, Alex? Anything to add for strengths?
Yeah, definitely. I think the forward pack. Well, you look at the forward pack of the Roosters and how dominant they've been, but if there's forwards who can match it with them, Shannon Marto, Jess Ellison, they've probably one of the best forward packs all season, most consistent, so many round meters, just can really dominate another team's forward pack. So that's sort of a big matchup I'm looking forward to, and yeah, something that the Roosters aren't going to be able to dominate easily. They have the second least missed tackles, but obviously behind the Roosters. I think you touched on it a bit earlier, but yeah, the Jamie Chapman on Bridie Parker matchup. Obviously, Bridie Parker's going to be pretty inexperienced in the centres. I think she played there last week, but that was her first game essentially. So definitely something the Titans can exploit. And yeah, you did skip me with the Roosters' weaknesses just quietly.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
I was, I was just going to say, we don't know if Millie Boyle and Keely Davis have obviously been named, but will they be 100%? Will they go down again in the match if they've been rushed back? You know, it's a big worry for the Roosters, and will shake things up during the match if they do have to go off. But I mean, hopefully not. And yeah, like I think Joel might have said they lost in the semis last year. You know, is that going to play on their minds? They're expected to win. They were expected to win last year and didn't. So who knows how much of a psychological impact that'll have. And yeah, like the Roosters, they like to win big. So if it is a tight tussle, the Titans probably used to more of a grind this season and probably won a few more close ones than the Roosters have. Because yeah, when the Roosters win, they've scored those 30 plus points. So might just favour the Titans there, and that sort of is a strength for the Titans as well.
Cool. And what about you, Joel? Strengths of the Titans.
yeah, that was going to be my big point. I was going to mention the fact that if it's how finals generally are in a bit more closer and tight, that might suit the Titans who have played a lot more of those this season, and they've got that mind frame that they're happy to be in that battle for 70 minutes. So just keep going. And you mentioned earlier their forward pack has been sensational. I feel like this year, and they lead the comp with tackle breaks as well, which is huge. So they can just keep doing what they're doing there. And they've got the second best offloads as well. So if they can just sort of stir up the Roosters a little bit with some tackle breaks and some offloads and things like that, that mixes up the defensive line, and all of a sudden it becomes a different ball game where the Roosters aren't in control. It's actually the Titans in control, and there's not many games this year where the Roosters haven't been able to control what happens, so that might catch them off guard.
Yeah, I guess looking at the weaknesses for the Titans is their errors. You know, most errors made across any time this season is something that they've struggled with and haven't improved on. They'll find themselves behind on the scoreboard quickly if they can't hold on to the ball. And obviously, against a strong Roosters side, that's not the way you want to start. But what about you, Alex?
Yeah, the errors is the main concern for the Titans. They lead the comp in errors. They make about 12 a game. It was something we spoke about, I think, Joel, early on in the season, and they just haven't fixed it up at all. They continue to make errors. Hasn't cost them for the season. Clearly, they've made the top four and have been one of the better sides. So, like I was saying, the completion rates haven't been a major factor, like low completion rates. But in a finals game where possession's everything and field position, they might shoot themselves in the foot.
What about have I asked you, Joel? I'm like now getting mixed up with who I've said.
No, that's right. I'll go. It's just the same thing. Basically, the errors is obviously a big concern. It's interesting because it makes me feel like, because Alex just said there, they haven't addressed it all year. Is that their game plan? Because we've just mentioned earlier that how good they are with the offloads and probably their tackle breaks, and feels like they've created something there. Is that just how they've obviously then had a meeting and gone, you know what, let's just play how we want to play. If there is errors, we just back ourselves to defend it, because we all know at the start of the year they were very good with defending. It has gotten a bit looser as the season's gone on, obviously a bit of fatigue and things like that, and teams working them out. But maybe that's just the style of play that they want to play. But in saying that, it's finals football against the Sydney Roosters, so it's a whole different ball game, and you don't want to give them too many opportunities. So is it going to bite them a little bit, the fact that they haven't addressed it? Maybe had one or two games where they just tucked the ball under the arm and got into that real grindy type football in preparation for this. We'll find out, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a really interesting game to watch. I think we look at Titans and Broncos and against the Knights and Roosters, and I think a lot of people are backing the Knights and the Roosters just because of the strength that they've shown throughout the whole season. But obviously the underdogs, I guess, in some people's eyes, hopefully they do come out on top. So it's a different finals footy game this year. So play to watch. I am going to say Shante Kiriaratu. I know that it's probably, if you think about all the star players in these two teams, she's probably not the one that comes straight to your mind, but it is the biggest game of her career. She is young, I think 19 years old. I was watching her, I think, in BMD, and she was amazing. And throughout her Titans career, she's blown me away as well. She's handled all the pressure so far, and I'm really keen to see her in this one. Who's your play to watch, Alex?
I'm just going to go with Shannon Marto up against the Roosters forward pack. I think, she's been building all year to a game like this where she can really take over. So, yeah, Shannon Marto.
And what about you, Joel?
Me and Alex have been so good this last few weeks. We're on the same thought pattern. So I had Shannon as well, but I'll change it to Taryn Aiken for the Roosters side of things. I just think attacking wise as well, she has been the spark for the Roosters all year. And I think she's got 10 tries. She's best in the comp, 16 line break assists as well. So she's the real key in terms of sparking the Roosters attack. So just watch her on and off the ball and just how she creates.
Yeah, for sure. So then I guess we look at our try scorers. So I'll let you guys go first. So Joel, if you want to continue.
I'll keep with the Taryn Aiken theme. I feel like a lot of things will be Titans will do a lot of work with the outside backs and things like that, and maybe just a dummy and go for Aiken over the line. Off she goes.
Okay, and Alex?
I'm going to play it safe. Big game player, Isabel Kelly. She's, got me a few ticks with my try scorer tip so far this season, crossed last week. So, yeah, Isabel Kelly.
Cool. I'm backing Jamie Frassard, also playing it safe with a winger in what I think will be a very low scoring game. So my exact score prediction is Roosters by 6. So with the final score being 12-6. What's yours, Joel?
I got the Roosters by 8, so sticking with that closer scoreline, 22-14.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, you wouldn't believe it. I've also gone Roosters 22-14. I think.
No way. We are on. We are on.
I think it'll be a game where it's like 14-16 for a while. The Titans are in it, and then a heartbreak try, maybe in the last 10 minutes to the Roosters, and they get the 22, and blow it out to the 8-point margin.
Yeah. Fun fact for the viewers: Alex is actually a twin, but I think he's found his other twin because you two are very similar.
That's sensational. I love that.
I think that's about it. Is there anything else that you guys want to touch on?
No, not from my end. I think we've covered most things. Yeah, just hopefully the Broncos get up and we see 2 Broncos teams in the grand final.
That'd be amazing. What about you, Joel? Anything else?
No, I can't wait for finals footy. Obviously, both the 4 best teams, obviously in the competition, have been probably throughout the year. So, going to have 2 amazing games of football. As I said, Sunday's pretty free when it comes to sports. So make sure you sit down on the couch from 2 o'clock onwards, or even just before, watch a pre-game and things like that, and you'll watch 2 quality games of football. Cannot wait for it.
Cool. I don't know if I'm going to be hopping on as the host for next week, but I just want to give a big shout out to Joel, League of Inches, and a big thank you because he reached out to us early before the season started, I think, and I was very nervous to do anything like this, but he filled me with confidence, and then you two have really carried on with each round review, and it's been amazing. So hopefully everyone enjoys this and enjoyed me taking over Joel's amazing job that he usually does each week. And we will potentially see you next week. Thanks, guys.